Hi, I'm Dr. Terry Egan, and I am a therapist, and I specialize in working with families who are going through separation and divorce. And firsthand, I know how stressful it can be to have conflict with your ex. So today I want to talk about some information that hopefully can be helpful to avoid making assumptions or jumping to conclusions about your ex. So just a couple tips here, because it was over time, I learned how to be more and more effective at these two things. So the first thing I want to tell you about is making sure that you don't assume that you know how your ex thinks or feels because you have a history with them. So you may have been married to your ex or with your ex for 20 years, and you feel like you can read him or her so easily, and you just know them so well. But the fact is, when you go through a separation or divorce, you go through a lot of change. And it's really important to remember that you're a completely different person now, at least I hope you are, in good ways. And so are they. And so if you really get caught on, I know how he is, he was always like that when we were married, or I know he felt or thought this way, and you keep imagining your ex staying in that really stagnant place, I think you can have a really inaccurate and unfair view of your ex. And your ex may not have improved for the better. That's absolutely possible. I'd like to think we all come out of divorce or separation and really grow as people, know our weak spots, surround ourselves with people who are super supportive, and make sure that we're getting healthier and healthier after being out of a relationship that may not have been a good fit. So I'd like to think your ex has improved, as have you. But sometimes it doesn't work out that way. But I think we can get really trapped in suspicious, distrustful thinking when we make a lot of assumptions, because a lot of our assumptions are coming from our own emotional state, any residual anger, unfair generalizations we were making when we were married to them. So I just don't want you to get into a space where you're continuing to do that. So I like to reflect. I remind myself, like, hey, this is a person that I no longer know. And if you are like me, where you're doing a lot of parallel parenting, and tune into some of my other videos to learn more about parallel parenting versus traditional co-parenting. But if you, like me, are primarily doing parallel parenting, where you're not having a lot of connection and interaction, it's even more important to remember that this is a person who has probably created an identity that's pretty separate from who you used to know. So don't get into that space of distrust. And make sure you're able to look at your connections or points of contact in a fresh way now that you guys are not together as a couple. So that's tip one. Tip two is I really encourage you, in addition to not making assumptions about who your ex is now based on your knowledge of them then, is to look at like the objective data or the things that are observable in your environment. So I'll give you an example. I recently had a parent tell me they feel really certain that when their ex is standing at their daughter's soccer meets and soccer games, that he was really resentful about having to be there because he never really enjoyed standing out in the heat and watching a whole bunch of kids run around. So I asked her, I said, well, does he come? And she's like, well, yeah. I said, pretty much every time. And she's like, yeah. And I said, does he come on time? And she's like, yeah. I said, does he bring, his chair and his, water bottle? And she's like, yep. And I'm like, well, all evidence that we can see with our eyes suggests that he's absolutely fine with being there. He comes on time. He claps for your daughter. He's clearly there to stay the whole time. Maybe he's chatting with some of the other parents. Like, you, in a past life with your ex, might have recognized that going to kids' soccer games was not his favorite thing. But right now, from what you can see, as far as evidence with your own eyes, he's fine with it and he's doing a great job. So it wouldn't be fair for you to walk around feeling angry or resentful or filled with contempt because, why is he here? He doesn't even like to be here anyway. Or, God forbid, saying something to your daughter to imply that dad's not really enjoying his time at her soccer game, because that might actually not be fair when all the evidence suggests that he's here, he's engaged, and everything's going fine. So I really encourage you to look at the objective data. And sometimes they might go the other way. You might be tempted to say to your kids, oh, daddy really wanted to be here. He really, wants to come to your games. I'm sure he had a really good reason for missing today's game. Well, the evidence shows you he didn't come. He hasn't come at all this season. When he comes, he doesn't bring a chair. He doesn't talk to the other parents. He only stays for 20 minutes. Like, that evidence suggests that maybe he's a less engaged dad when it comes to coming here at soccer games. So in that situation, you wouldn't want to convey something different to your kids, because that can make them question what they're seeing. If you're telling them, oh, dad totally wants to be here and he's really enjoying his time watching you, when they can clearly see that's not the case for their dad, you don't want to inadvertently sort of gaslight them and have them question their sense of reality. So just say it like it is. See what the evidence is. See what the evidence is generally saying, and go with that, and just really stay in a space that's based on what you can see with your own eyes. So 2 tips for today: making sure that you don't make assumptions about your ex after a long time of not being with them, and making assumptions that you know who they are, and then making sure to use the information that's right in front of you and is more objective. And that can help minimize your sense of distress or just kind of irritation or hypervigilance when it comes to watching what your ex does and says. And it can just keep you focused in here, like in the now, and engaged with your kids and your life together. So thanks for tuning in. Make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Visit my website at www.drtaraegan.com, and make sure to shoot me a message and let me know what you want to learn more about. Thanks so much.